Welcome to Think What If, the channel where we dive into the most mind-bending, chilling, and thought-provoking scenarios that challenge how we see the world. Today, we're tackling a nightmare that combines two of the most terrifying ideas imaginable: being trapped in the wrong place at the wrong time during a zombie apocalypse. Imagine, for a moment, that society has collapsed. The dead walk among us, hunting, devouring, and spreading chaos with every step. You might think survival depends on your weapons, your wit, or your luck. But what if your survival came down to where you were when the outbreak began? Some places offer safety, but others? They're nothing short of a death sentence. So today we ask, what if you got stuck in the worst places during a zombie apocalypse? Let's start with one of the most terrifying possibilities: being stuck in an airplane mid-flight. At first, it seems almost ideal. You're far above the chaos, sealed off from the world below. But the nightmare begins the moment just one infected person boards the plane before takeoff. A cramped cabin filled with hundreds of passengers, narrow aisles, and nowhere to run creates the perfect breeding ground for panic and infection. Unlike in a city where you might have the chance to escape, here you're strapped in, forced to breathe recycled air with dozens of terrified strangers. Within minutes, screams echo across the cabin. The infected charge down the aisle, and your only exits are tiny doors thousands of feet above the ground. Do you risk parachuting out without training, or do you barricade yourself in a bathroom, hoping the plane lands before the infected break through? Being stuck on a plane during a zombie apocalypse is one of the most hopeless scenarios imaginable. Now, let's shift our nightmare to the underground. Picture yourself in a crowded subway train when the outbreak begins. The claustrophobia alone would be overwhelming. Dark tunnels, no cellular signal, and thousands of people crammed together in a metal tube beneath the city. The infected wouldn't need to find you. You're already trapped in an enclosed space with them. Escape routes would be limited to dark, winding tunnels that stretch for miles. With power likely failing, the tunnels would descend into complete darkness, where the groans and footsteps of the infected echo endlessly. And remember, zombies don't need light to hunt. You do. Imagine hearing the scraping of feet growing louder, the sound bouncing off walls so you can't tell where it's coming from. Underground, you wouldn't just be fighting zombies, you'd be battling the crushing terror of isolation, hunger, and darkness. The subway, often a symbol of daily routine and safety, could become one of the most horrifying traps in a zombie apocalypse. But what about being stuck somewhere that seems safe at first glance, like a shopping mall? Fiction has often portrayed malls as fortresses during a zombie outbreak. They offer food courts, supplies, and plenty of space. Yet malls are double-edged swords. Their wide-open floors are impossible to secure. Their glass entrances practically scream vulnerability. And their popularity ensures that when the outbreak starts, they're already packed with people. Panic spreads faster than infection. Hundreds of people rushing, trampling, and screaming create pure chaos. And if just one person turns, the crowd becomes a massacre zone. Even if you manage to survive the initial outbreak, being stuck in a mall long-term is another kind of prison. Supplies dwindle, zombies press against every exit, and escape becomes impossible. The mall transforms from a place of abundance into a gilded cage, where survival means waiting until something, zombies, starvation, or desperation, finally gets you. Now imagine being stuck in a hospital when the outbreak begins. It might sound like the best place to be. You're surrounded by medicine, doctors, and protective equipment. But look closer. Hospitals are ground zero for chaos during any disaster, and a zombie apocalypse would be no exception. Picture the scene: hundreds of patients, many immobile or unconscious, lined in beds and connected to machines. If just one of them turns, the infection spreads like wildfire. Staff members, already overworked and panicked, may abandon their posts. The halls fill with screaming patients, desperate families, and blood-soaked chaos. You think you can run, but hospitals are labyrinths of identical hallways, locked doors, and stairwells that lead nowhere. Even if you find your way out, you've wasted precious time trapped in a building designed for healing but utterly unfit for escape. Worse still, many infected patients are already vulnerable, meaning the outbreak accelerates at a pace faster than almost anywhere else. Being in a hospital during a zombie apocalypse isn't just dangerous, it's a nightmare you likely wouldn't wake from. And then there are prisons. Imagine being stuck inside when the outbreak begins. On one hand, you're surrounded by high fences, locked gates, and solid walls, great for keeping zombies out. But on the other hand, what happens if the outbreak starts inside? Thousands of inmates packed into cells, guards overwhelmed, and chaos exploding in every corridor. Do the guards keep prisoners locked up, knowing it's a death sentence? Or do they release them, trading order for chaos? If zombies get in, the narrow hallways and barred doors turn the prison into a death trap where escape is nearly impossible. Even if you survive the infected, you're left with another threat: people. Inmates desperate for freedom, guards struggling for control, and gangs forming for survival. In this scenario, you don't just fight zombies, you fight human nature at its most desperate and brutal. The prison becomes less about survival and more about whether humanity itself can hold on. Schools and universities also fall into the category of nightmare locations. At first, a classroom might seem secure. You can lock the doors, barricade the windows, and hide quietly. But schools are filled with long hallways that amplify every sound, gyms with wide-open spaces, and cafeterias stocked with only limited food. If the outbreak hits while classes are in session, you're surrounded by hundreds or even thousands of panicked students. In a matter of minutes, chaos erupts. Crowds push through narrow hallways, everyone trying to escape at once. A single infected person in that scenario would trigger an unstoppable domino effect. And if you're locked in with no way out, survival quickly turns into waiting for the inevitable. Now consider one of the worst places of all, an amusement park. Bright lights, blaring music, rides that tower overhead, and thousands of people packed shoulder to shoulder. When the outbreak starts here, it becomes a horror story straight out of your worst nightmare. The laughter turns into screaming, roller coasters grind to a halt, and the wide-open layout offers no safe refuge. Zombies charge across open grounds, while terrified survivors scatter in every direction. The very attractions that once promised joy, Ferris wheels, fun houses, roller coasters, become cages of death when you're trapped inside them. Imagine being stuck at the top of a Ferris wheel as zombies swarm below, watching helplessly as the crowd is devoured. The amusement park, once a symbol of childhood innocence, becomes the perfect stage for despair. Then there are rural nightmares, being stuck on a farm or in the wilderness when zombies rise. At first, wide-open space might seem like an advantage, but remember, you're isolated. No backup, no reinforcements, and no supplies beyond what you can carry or grow. If zombies stumble onto your farm, you're left with nothing but the hope of outrunning them in open fields, with nowhere to hide. In the wilderness, survival is even harsher. Sure, the zombies are fewer, but so are the resources. Hunger, cold, and exhaustion become just as deadly as the infected. And when night falls, the pitch-black darkness of forests or fields leaves you vulnerable to unseen dangers. Zombies aren't the only threat out there. Wild animals, exposure, and sheer isolation may finish you off long before the infected ever find you. One of the most disturbing scenarios, though, is being stuck in a stadium. These massive arenas are designed to hold tens of thousands of people. During an outbreak, they turn into colossal death traps. Imagine a sporting event or concert in full swing when chaos erupts. Tens of thousands of panicked people surge toward exits that can't handle the flood. Trampling kills as many as the infected. Once zombies break through, the crowd has nowhere to go. Stadiums, with their tiered seating and enclosed design, quickly become cages filled with screaming prey. Even if you survive the initial wave, you're now trapped in a massive arena with dwindling resources and no clear path out. The cheers of the crowd transform into a deafening roar of terror, echoing through empty seats as the infected prowl endlessly. And perhaps the ultimate nightmare, being stuck in an elevator when the outbreak begins. Confined to a metal box with nowhere to run, no tools for defense, and no way to escape, you're completely at the mercy of fate. If the power fails, and it almost certainly will, you're left in pitch-black darkness, breathing stale air, listening for any sound beyond the steel doors. Even if zombies never find you, starvation and thirst are inevitable. The elevator is not just a death trap, it's a coffin waiting to close. So what do all these nightmare locations teach us? The key isn't just avoiding zombies, it's recognizing the role the environment plays in survival. Some places strip away your choices, trapping you in situations where every option leads to death. Others may seem safe at first, but their flaws reveal themselves as time drags on. In a zombie apocalypse, luck isn't just about who you meet or what weapons you carry. It's about where you are when the world ends. As terrifying as these scenarios are, they force us to confront a chilling truth. Survival isn't guaranteed. You might be smart, strong, or resourceful, but if you're in the wrong place when the outbreak begins, none of that matters. A hospital, a prison, a stadium, or even a carnival, any of these could be your final resting place. Think what if. We explore these scenarios not to terrify you, but to challenge your imagination, to make you think about the delicate balance between safety and danger, between chance and survival. So next time you step into an elevator, board a plane, or ride the subway, ask yourself, what if the world ended right here, right now? Would this place save you or doom you? Because in the end, it's not just about the zombies. It's about the places we live, the choices we make, and the terrifying possibility that sometimes survival is beyond our control.